What's up, guys? Boston media selling fake hope once again. These guys who are just dying to pay Kyrie Irving $190, $200 million for 5 years to roll the dice on his knee. Now they're pretending that Kyrie Irving is saying that he's excited to be part of a championship caliber team in Boston for years to come. Notice how the only part of that quoted is years to come. All right, so we got an exclusive premium content interview with Kyrie Irving from Brian Robb on Boston Sports thing. But anyway, somebody copy pasted the content. Subscribe to Boston Sports Journal, by the way. So what does he really say? Kyrie says, I'm just excited to see what that looks like. Really getting that experience with G and seeing what other pieces we have going forward. So in Kyrie's mind, from Mount Irving, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum especially are just other pieces. I think that's the exciting part about all this, is that when you're shaping up to gear up to be a championship caliber team for years to come, which I think Danny Ainge has echoed for a little bit. So he's just talking about Danny Ainge trying to build a championship caliber team. Kyrie says, I'm just appreciative to be part of it and see where my career can take off as well. I'm excited. So even in trying to do damage control, because he made it so patently obvious that he did not want to be here, in his last quote with the New York Times, Kyrie tries to blur it and tries to say, he's trying to say the right thing, but even then he can't really quite do it. And the only person he can even name by name is Gordon Hayward, who he calls G. And seeing what other pieces we have going forward. What the fuck? And I'm just appreciative to be part of it and see where my career can take off as well. So he's talking about two different things. He's talking about my career taking off over here and Danny building a championship caliber team. It continues. After watching a breakout season from youngsters like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Irving believes Hayward will make their lineup become an even bigger handful for opponents to handle. Just how much versatility we have, Irving said of the lineup with a healthy Hayward. I think that our starting five probably could have changed game to game based on the guys we have on this team and the length. When you add another prominent ball handler, creator of opportunities, scorer, and defender in Gordon, that's something you can't necessarily talk about. You can only see. That's something a lot of us are excited to see from G. And now, Brian Robb gets honest for a second. So he draws you in with the false hope that Kyrie Irving said he was excited to be part of a championship caliber team in Boston for years to come and live happily ever after. Then once they get you over to the premium content, Brian Robb is more honest. Despite his optimistic tone about the future in Boston, Irving remained somewhat guarded when asked specifically about the long term. It's encouraging, said Irving, about his time in Boston. For me, it's my job to just stay present. What the who said it's your job to stay present? Stay present? That means don't let your mind drift to New York City. Yeah, it's your job to not let your mind drift to New York City. But you're making it Danny Ainge's job to trade your ass because it's taken effort for you just to stay present because you don't want to be here. It wouldn't take effort. It wouldn't be a job to stay present if your heart and your mind were here. Kyrie continues. When all that stuff at that time comes, we'll see what happens. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, guys, that was his chance to say the politically correct thing and to express, even if it was just going to fake it, to name a few players by name and talk about how excited he is to be here for years to come. It's not like any other team, guys, can pay him $190 million freaking dollars for an average of $38 million annually. Nobody else can do that. And so, anyway, guys, this was his chance. He reiterated what he said before, that he's just trying really hard to stay present because it doesn't come naturally to him. And that after next year, he's going to see what happens. And, even here, he could only name one person by name, and it was probably because he was asked explicitly about Gordon Hayward. Everybody else is just a piece. See what pieces we have here, So it's time to trade Mount Irving to Sleepy Hollow, where the Washington Irving wrote a story about Sleepy Hollow, which is also where the Knicks have their practice facility in Tarrytown next to Sleepy Hollow in New York. So from Washington Irving to KYRIE Irving, it's all a New York thing. I don't understand it, but KYRIE is gone, and he had a chance to try to say the politically correct thing. All he did is reiterate it, and all this journalist did is sell false hope. So what's going to happen? It's a little bit tricky because, Terry Rozier wants to get paid. But if we trade Kyrie Irving first, with the draft coming up, in a week or less? If we trade Kyrie first, Terry Rozier's contract demands could arguably go up, right? But if we sign Terry Rozier first for $14-15 million a year, it'd be easier to negotiate with Terry Rozier for a lower number if we still have Kyrie Irving on the team, right? At the same time, it arguably makes it tricky. If we've just signed Terry Rozier, does that hurt Kyrie Irving's trade value? Probably not, because even $14-15 million is still relatively decent enough money for a backup, an elite backup point guard, right? So it shouldn't hurt too much. Where does Kyrie end up getting traded to? I think we got a couple options here, guys. And, with Michael Porter continually being seen down in this range, don't be surprised if Danny Ainge says, you know what, we're not just going to trade Kyrie, we're also going to throw in that Kings pick, right? If you think about it, even if we ultimately basically lost that Nets pick by trading it to Cleveland, right? Even if this Kyrie trade ultimately doesn't really work out, the fact is Danny Ainge redeemed himself by getting another high first-round pick from the 76ers in that Jason Tatum. So would you rather have Kyrie Irving and what's his face? Number 1 pick last year, Markelle Fultz. Would you rather have Kyrie Irving and Markelle Fultz? Or would you rather have Jason Tatum and Michael Porter? It's going to be something like that. So don't write off the Chicago Bulls for a trade destination. And what could happen is the Celtics could take back the contract of Robin Lopez, which would give us a solid enough center. And even if he's just playing backup minutes, to be like a poor man Aaron Baines, basically, and to get spot starts against Joel Embiid. But you really only need a Joel Embiid enforcer, 5, 6, 7 times a year, depending on how often you see the 76ers and if you meet him in the playoffs. So Robin Williams could do that. And then if we could get Michael Porter Jr., another franchise player at the number 7 pick, it would definitely be worth not just Kyrie Irving, but also that future Kings pick. Because as I've said in other videos, none of these guys I'm seeing from next year are as good as Michael Porter. So that would get us up to 7. Chicago, you'd have the Kyrie, Michael Jordan comparison. He would be in a big market, as just about as big as Los Angeles, even if the media, Hollywood stuff isn't there. It's still a major media market. He would have the team to himself with a young Kristaps Porzingis type and Lauri Markkanen, and he could go hog wild and really build his brand, and they could have reasonable hope that they could re-sign him. And even if Kyrie Irving didn't re-sign with the Bulls, they could still say, hey, we probably got an even higher pick with this Kings pick we acquired as well. Next year drafting in the top 3, top 4, top 5. So they would have very good reason to do that. And that's the kind of huge package, Kyrie and that Kings pick, that can really help the Celtics flex their muscle and get up just about as high as they want, you know? Maybe even as high as Dallas, guys, at number 5. So when Danny gets ready to play his cards, and he actually plays those cards, and we can sign Terry Rozier before that even happens, so we've got a cheap starting quality point guard on a championship team and Terry Rozier locked up for the next 4 years for cheap money. Yeah, and then we would have money to re-sign Marcus Smart, you know, and if Aaron Baines wants to take a pay cut or something, maybe we could get him too to go along with Robin Lopez, but otherwise we would just be so stacked it would be crazy. And Michael Porter Jr., imagine him playing most of Marcus Morris's minutes, you know, and maybe even starting a power forward at some point this year. So we could have a crazy deep team in that way. And so in that way we would both be competing now this year, coming year, and be totally stacked for the future with another franchise player and Michael Porter Jr. added to the mix. And this way we're not trading Gordon Hayward. We're not trying to get LeBron. We're not trying to do anything crazy. But we got another young Kevin Durant type in Michael Porter Jr. to go along with our other Kevin Durant type and Jason Tatum, to go along with our other Kawhi Leonard type and Jaylen Brown, who will actually get the shots he deserves next year, rather than playing 4th or 5th fiddle behind the Kyrie Irving show. All right, guys, let me know what you think. I'll see you soon.